I want to review today's price action quickly to talk about some places where I think I may have some areas of opportunity. So if I'm zooming back and going out, in the Asia session, I thought to myself, or my first trade idea, let's say it that way, was that we would sweep these equal highs, if you want to call it that, and reverse back to the prior day high. So, no, we didn't do that. We did get far. We did get somewhere. We came into this potential fair value gap, and I asked myself, why did we stop here? And I think the reason being is that I think this was the earliest presented fair value gap. Let's see. Yeah. This was the earliest presented fair value gap, which can explain, let's just draw, just for reference sake, it was there. Let's exit the replay. Yeah, so fancy that. So it makes sense that this was the price level. So I think one thing I want to point out is our trade plans are not good. I'm just going to say that. It's okay to say it. They're not good. So I think in this case, I was winging it, really. And I feel like I do that because I'm tired and ready for bed. But I think what it's going to take to be successful here, honestly, is to make trade plans the night before. And in those trade plans, we need to ID all reversals, all possible targets, all possible scenarios. Now, sometimes we'll miss it. That's okay. But I feel like I was targeting here, this area. But the other thing too, which it doesn't create a conflict, but I was saying, I think we go here, considering that price action was curving a bit. And my ultimate target was where we reversed. So I'm thinking one scenario, the good news is I had multiple scenarios to play out in my head. One of them was to have price reverse from here to the prior day high and then make its way up. So we didn't go that far, which my scenario, my plausible outcome was correct insofar as we went down before going higher, before going lower. So, I mean, I want to say to myself, GG for identifying this scenario, because we were able to, profit from that. I was mucking around a bit up here, trying to get into the short, and ultimately it cost me a bit. A lot, actually, that I had to undo in the morning unnecessarily. So this is, idea number one is if we would have mapped this out to say, all right, let's go to our desk and let's plan. So the plan will look something like, where are the fair value gaps on different timetables? Is there a plan or is there a route for price to get there, and what happens after that? So let's write that down. Whoops. So the reason why I say what happens after that is because in this case, if we stopped our thinking to say here, and this happened in the middle of the night, so we would not have been able to necessarily, I don't think we would have been trying to manage to get long here. We would have probably managed to maybe set an alert, have our take profit here. And if we feel like we are in a position to get long here, we could. But if we didn't, it would be fine because ultimately we would be looking for this level to get taken out. So that's number one. So the number two, when I came into the session this morning and I was looking at the 15-minute chart, it looked like a pattern I'd seen play out time and time again, which was a move into after hours for the NVIDIA earnings or whatever the catalyst was. Doesn't matter. Maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. But looking at this and me saying, man, I think that we're going to correct from here. With me saying, I don't know how far into this area of interest we get before reversing. My thought process was we could hit these fair value gaps. We could sweep, but ultimately where it's somewhere around here. Now I had a bias of us getting up here, right? And I knew that if we got up here, I would be more prepared to go short. But I was like, well, if we, let me just take a few shots. So I did take a few shots on NQ into the corrective move. So this is the unfortunate part about what I did today. So I told myself that we were not going to worry about trading the open. So we kind of sat on our hands for most of the session in the morning. Okay, I'm thinking this through, and my thought was that it would be unlikely that we broke the initial balance considering price action. That is an incorrect thought. The likelihood is not a factor. I have no data to support whether it would break or not. So what I did was, it's interesting. My thought process was, well, it's most likely that we're going to range. So I'm not going to think about the range getting broken. Wrong. This pattern that you see here tells you that we should break it. I didn't even go this far. God damn. I thought I did have a projection of us hitting this level again, but I asked myself, like, what makes you think that we would? I have never seen a pattern where we take this level and then continue up. I've never seen it. So, man, that's interesting. I mean, in hindsight, you see it, you're like, duh, right? But I think I want to take a snapshot of this and put it in my playbook or print it. So I thought we should range today. Maybe we range to go higher. And I thought of that because of the NVIDIA earnings. Then I thought, man, the NVIDIA earnings have probably sucked out all the liquidity. So I don't see it going higher from here. And I was basing that loosely off of the price action from here. And I would say that was the wrong way to look at it. That was one mistake that I made. I also made the mistake of like forcing an orb trade I forced some trades that I honestly don't remember forcing. And this is a problem that I keep repeating. Made trades with no documented trade plan. So at one point, my funded futures combines were down. They were down some amount, and now they're not down so much, but they were down some amount. I was like, looking back on it, I can say that I broke a couple rules, and one of those rules was to use the my funded futures combines for liquidity plays and not for orb plays, because I took a trade here. I took a trade here. And for what it's worth, like this trade that I took here was not a liquidity draw. You know what I mean? So like it may have helped us like undo some of the damage from whatever shenanigans we were doing earlier. But ultimately, those two trades that I took today were not part of a trade plan that reflected a draw on liquidity. The other ones did, right? The trades I took on my Top Step combines did reflect a liquidity draw, and I took it. So like I should be grateful that I took the trade. But my conflict in that was that I felt some degree of comfort in being wrong in that, because it felt okay to take the risks. I felt okay with losing the combine. Now this is interesting as I think about it, because I know one thing I learned from poker is having comfort in losing when you make a bet. I recognize today that when I was making trades in my funded futures combines, I didn't have any feelings about the trades. I just know that the trades were wrong. Well, let's just say that the trades that I took today did not fit my proposed system. They were discretionary and they weren't based upon a draw on liquidity. The trade I took on my Top Step combines was based on a draw on liquidity. However, I can say definitively that I only had half of a strategy mapped out for that. And I, giving myself some grace, because I'm looking at it and in hindsight, I'm thinking, well, there should have been greater draws to other levels that I was not privy to. And that's okay. That's fine. Like we can say that. Like I had a price target in mind. I did have a trade plan when I took the trade from my Top Step combines. So it wasn't as if I was just clicking buttons. But the question mark that I have for myself was like, I was taking the bet from an emotional place of saying, yeah, fuck it. Like don't, like if the account is blown, it gets blown. And realistically, I wasn't even the risk size didn't even reflect that much risk. There was no risk in actually blowing the account. And I don't think that I was in a state of, I know for certain that I was not in a wire, I wasn't wired up. I wasn't like tilted. I just know that I did not care about the trade being wrong. I was like, it's fine. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that needs to be the place where all of these things are taken from. Like I was still centered. There was no unhingedness about it. I was sober about it. And the trade worked. There were definitely, I think there may have been like a discretionary trade in the middle of that on the Top Step Combine, but I don't remember, which is also a problem. So I think that's it. That's what I want to recap, just in terms of my journaling, my thoughts, and reviewing my performance. I would like to begin before I go to sleep, saying, okay, I'm going to go to my desk, perhaps even go to my office, and I'm going to spend the time to come up with a trade plan of where I think price may go during the London, Asia, New York sessions leading into that, and what the following day has potential to bring. I think it's worth the extra effort to put that plan together. Man, sorry, some other random thought just kind of threw me for a second. The next thing to ponder on, or just to remind myself of as an area of improvement, was one thing that I think I fixed is that feeling of I have to be in a trade before or during the market open. I've stopped doing that this week. I think I've corrected that behavior. So while I wasn't pressed to get into a trade, the trade I took didn't match. The trades I took on my funded futures combines did not reflect my trading plan. So that's something for us to kind of reflect on, to say we need to make sure or remind ourselves. Yesterday, we made the mistake of taking a trade that was not part of our trading plan. The trading plan is draws on liquidity. So in this case, the trade may have been a bit different. We would have considered either taking a short at the retest of the initial balance as our entry. We also could have taken a trade at the or below in this instance, and that would have essentially been like a reasonable reason to have entered based upon my observation of the higher time frame and the price action that reflected that we would be making a corrective short to kind of unwind the NVIDIA earnings push. Because again, looking at it, we don't know how the reversal is coming, but we know that we're looking for it. It can come in many ways, many flavors, and that's fine. Right? But I remember thinking like, oh, price should give us some sort of reversal from here. And it did, right? And that's fine. So, don't feel any kind of way about that. Just recognize that is what we're aiming for. That's what we're looking for. All right. So I think that's it. I think that's all we need as it relates to the review. I'm going to upload this. I'm going to convert it to text. I'm going to go for a walk and then come back and review it some more.